I'm getting bombarded with shills talking shit, uh, questioning every piece of evidence I say, just saying things that are not true, including the footage I just recently put up of the recent recording of government officials coming to my home shortly after everything that happened, just as I said they would. So I want to go through what was actually said in detail, point by point of what these government officials said and why they were there, to make things crystal clear what they were there and what they were really saying and hinting to, and what was really being said. Nothing to do with the fact that these shills are talking shit and questioning what I say. There's another reason why I'm doing this. It's because these corrupt pieces, psychopathic pieces of shit, they spend their whole lives learning how to be very manipulative and ways to get away with doing what they do. And there's specific tactics that they use over and over that most people, they would have no idea this is going on. And it's important to be able to understand what these people do and be able to detect it when one of these kind of people do this to you. Not just government psychopaths, but everyday psychopaths who do the same tactics. Just like is becoming popular, people are becoming popularly aware of narcissistic tactics. Well, this is like above and beyond that. This is like a professional narcissist kind of thing. So I'm going to go through things that were actually said and what in the real context of what was being said, for your sake, to protect yourself against such evil pieces of shit, and to make it clear what for those who don't understand what's going on. Other people have seen the recording and they know exactly what's going on. But there's a lot of people who are completely stupid and ignorant. They don't see it. They don't understand what's really being said. So this is mainly for those who don't notice and they don't pick up on what's actually said. They don't read between the lines of people who cannot. The reason why they very rarely speak directly. Very rarely. They'll speak indirectly, and instead of directly threatening you, they'll use like suggestions and hints, and they'll use specific language to like beat around the bush and like wink wink kind of thing. This is how they operate. So I'm going to just go through some details here, just to show how fucked up and evil, disgustingly repulsive this shit is. So I'll start by first just an introduction. So what happened was if you're watching this, you might know my whole history, a long story about who I am and what I do, and a recent problem come up regarding a big political conspiracy and scandal regarding One Nation, Mark Latham, and a so-called Muslim recruit. They've gone all these years, they're fighting against Islam. Now suddenly they're pushing Islam. Just total extremes. There's big scandal involved, and I became aware of it very early. And I did some looking into it, and really, really quickly as soon as I saw this, and I recognized people involved, and I tracked some things down quickly, and I realized what was going on, and I quickly began talking about it. Now, I wasn't the only one. A lot of other people were like, what the fuck's going on here? Something's not right here regarding this scandal. But I was front and center. I was like responsible for the vast majority of this push to expose this scandal. So Mark Latham went on Twitter and he started trashing the people responsible for exposing this scandal and trying to portray as if we're all was it lunar right nutters, spreading ridiculous conspiracy theories about Islam and stuff like that. So this progressed, and more and more people started getting upset, but they were just making comments and here and there on the like official One Nation pages and stuff, and more and more criticism happened, and I made a 4-hour video, a big expose of the whole thing and what was going on. After I uploaded it, I went to Mark Latham's Twitter, and He's not just calling me and the others who are trying to expose this stuff. And this is mainly a shot that he was taking at me personally, because I was responsible for like 95% of this criticism and stuff. Outside of what I said, there was just all the other people said was like, One Nation's lost my vote. That's about it. I was the main pusher. This what he's talking about. He's taking pot shots at me personally. So I responded. I responded to him, and I challenged him to debate me. He calls me a coward. Somehow I'm the coward. And I challenged him. He's like, let's see who's the coward here. I challenge you to debate me right now, anytime, any day, right now, and we'll go through the facts, and we'll see who's nutter, who's crazy, and we'll see who's a coward. So I did that last night, and it was like maybe even less than 12 hours later. Out of the blue, government officials come to my home to give me a welfare check. Hours after this, within 12 hours, I receive a welfare check by the housing department. And so not just anyone comes here. The big boss of the housing department comes to do this welfare check. The big boss, with someone else to back her up. And this is the very same woman who repeatedly threatened and framed me and all kinds of shit, right? There's a big bad history here. This is a woman who was constantly sending me letters in the mail, threatening me with legal orders, taking me to court over and over, right? So she taught me. So what happened was, she was using a terrorist and other thugs and shit. She was part of this big conspiracy to attack and try and kill me. So she's involved in the assassination attempts against me and everything that went through all courts, and all kinds of shit happened. Long story. She was front and center of this. Her and Donna Pickering, and she was the big boss of the housing department, right? So this is a woman responsible for all this framing and assassination attempts on me and everything. And she's the one that turns up out of the blue, straight after all this happened, to do a welfare check. And understand that this is the woman responsible for all the shit that I've said that's done to me. This woman has been front and center of all of it. So with that in mind, there's probably some more details I'll try and remember as I say this, but you get an idea. So now I'm going to go through what was actually said, and I'll go through step by step the context of what was actually said, the innuendo and shit.
Hi, Jeremy. It's Lisa. How are you?
I'm good.
I haven't seen you for a long time. This is Kathleen. She's your client service officer.
So here, the very big boss comes to see me and introduces this Kathleen as my client service officer, who I've never seen before. Yet the big boss is there for some unknown reason. It's all the big friendly display of, hey, I don't mean any evil. Let's be friendly and non-threatening. With no idea what's coming. So she introduces this client service officer, but there's no explanation for why the big boss is there with her. Now, normally these, when you have an actual proper visit from a government service like this, or a routine, like, for example, landlord checkup kind of thing, you just have one person comes along and they're there for 5 minutes and that's it, right? No problem. But there's two people here, and the very big boss is here. And she says, haven't seen you for a long time. She remembers everything. This is a woman who threatened me with legal orders and took me to court over and over for years. And now she's all friendly after she tried, the shit that I could not describe, the evil shit she did to me. Even took me to court for, apparently I wasn't even allowed to park my car in the parking lot designed for my car, because my car in a parking spot was a threat to the comfort, the comfort, privacy, and something else, comfort, security, and privacy, I think it was, of other tenants. And this shit went through courts for years. It's just one of the many accusations. It's like someone who's murdered your own family, who's a government official who's murdered your own family, and they're responsible for doing welfare checks, and they did this welfare check shit you in past, and did a lot of corrupt evil shit, and then laughed about it and tortured you in a prison for years and shit, and then suddenly they turn up at the door. They do the same thing, and they put on this big act of being friendly, as though everything that had just happened never happened. This big act, completely ignoring everything that's just happened, and with an haven't seen you in a long time. And then she asks, how are you going? After everything she's done to me, she asked me, how am I going? After everything she's done, a year's passed, and she asked me how I'm going. So, yeah, it doesn't look good just from the start, right? It's going to get a lot worse. I don't remember you. Yeah. So when I said I don't remember you, I didn't recognize that she was the same Lisa. It took me a couple of seconds to realize who she was. So I was honest when I said that, and then I quickly realized. And so when I say I don't remember you, look, watch her response. Watch her reaction.
From over at, you were in the entrance upstairs.
Yeah, I used to live there.
Yeah, and then you had. Oh, okay. I first originally went to the place on a Pickering, and then I worked on the case when you were having some antisocial behaviour issues with.
Yes, there was a terrorist. So here we have the big boss turns up at this random welfare check kind of visit, which is really unusual, and there's 2,000 each person who does these client visits will go through thousands of them a year, but she remembers every detail of my visits. Yeah, she remembers everything. She knows everything that's going on because she's here for a reason regarding it. She knows exactly what's going on here. She's not just some random innocent person who has no idea what's going on. She's here with a very clear purpose. Downstairs, Skander, yes. And I have. So here we have years of framing attempts and creating narratives of me being the bad guy, and all these terrorist threats and stuff never happened, and all these court cases charging me for shit that never happened, and all these denials for years. Cover-ups and everything of terrorist attacks, assassination attempts, and everything. So here I'm talking about this terrorist and the shit that he did, these terrorist attacks and stuff. And what does she do? She says, she acknowledges what I say is true, and says that he's gone, as though they've gotten rid of him finally. And after saying that to me in person that they will never do anything about him. So she's saying, yeah, he's gone. And she's acknowledging everything I say about all this conspiracy shit that happened to me. She's acknowledging it, and now she's saying that he's been dealt with. After all the cover-ups and shit, she's admitted it. I have extensive footage of him vandalising my property, attacking people with weapons and making terrorist bombardments, and nothing was done. And I was attacked repeatedly. My car was repeatedly vandalised. I lost my car over it, and nothing was done over years, and it was all documented. And all the threats I received from the housing department over things I've never said or done. So here I'm going through things that happened, really extreme stuff that happened, and her, as the big boss of the housing department, covering it all up, and doing nothing about it, while I'm receiving terrorist threats, all my property got destroyed. And I got evicted over these very accusations. And now she's confirming that I was innocent, that she's the very one who evicted me. And now she's confirming that all the stuff that I was accused of never happened. I was evicted for false reasons. She's admitted her own conspiracy, and she's admitted the conspiracy against me to the extreme shit that was done to me. She's admitting everything.
And then you went and had a little stay in hospital.
She gets that awkward after what I've said, without naming her, but saying what happened, what she did to me, without actually naming her. She gets an awkward silence. And what is the next thing she did? She mentions my little stay in hospital. After threatening me with psychiatry, of having me locked up in psychiatry, accusing me of mental illnesses, of the things that she's confirmed now are true, but apparently back in all the years of shit that she did to me, apparently she kept on challenging, threatening me, suggesting that I have a mental illness, always saying things like, I'm concerned for your wellness. You know, the real psychopathic manipulative shit. She did that for years. So after she's admitted everything, it was all a big lie, and she just at the end of, like, I've pretty much said what she's done to me without naming her. She just goes completely silent in an awkward silence, and the next thing she does is she brings up my little hospital stay. I was locked up for a year. I was kidnapped outside of a court after years of framing attempts. Last desperate attempt, they kidnapped me outside of the very courtroom after losing their court battle against me, their last court battle. They kidnapped me, tortured me for a year. I've been crippled since the mutilation from the torture and shit they did to me, and she's behind the whole thing. So after me basically exposing her, and she's got no comeback, she reminds me of my little stay in hospital, my extensive torture for a year, and all the shit that happened after that ever since. And my whole life was destroyed. So what she's saying, and the way she says it, notice the way she says it in a very wink kind of way, like an obsessively wink kind of way. What she's doing here, she's reminding me that she has the power to have me locked up in a psychiatric facility, to accuse me of random mental illnesses, that I'm always under her scrutiny, under her accusation of mental illness, always under suspicion of some random mental illness, and I'll be locked up, and all these things are going to happen to me again. She's given me a wink without actually saying it directly, that she's threatening to have me locked up in a psychiatric facility again without actually saying it. If you understand everything, you know, her presence there and what she's actually saying here. No, I was not in a hospital. I was in a psychiatric facility where I was tortured for a year. I have confessions on camera. Okay. I'm not some random person off the street. No. I'm heavily politically active, and I was tortured by a psychopath who murdered his own wife. He murdered 1,000 people at Chelmsford Private Hospital. Yep. So let's not pretend that I'm not the victim of an extreme government conspiracy here with extensive evidence, and that I wasn't kidnapped as a political prisoner and tortured. Notice that she's awkwardly confirming everything I say. And I say that I'm heavily politically active. And she makes the effort to say, I know that. She knows my political views. Look, how often do you get a client service office, like a welfare check, by the big boss of a government service who's very well aware of your political situation? Pretty fucking obvious, eh? So she's very well aware of my political position, because that's what it's all about. And I say that I was tortured by a psychopath who murdered his own wife and thousands of people, more than 1,000 people at Chelmsford Private Hospital, and she's acknowledging that, yes, this is true. So I've done nothing wrong, and I'm a victim.
And then I haven't seen you since you've moved here.
Yeah. So this it gets really fucked up. So I explain that I've done nothing wrong, and I'm evicted, and she was the one who evicted me. And what does she say? She continues on with the story I'm telling. She accepts and acknowledges that this is true, that she evicted me for false reasons. And the next thing she says, and then I haven't seen you since you've moved here. So I've been out of the picture for like a year and a half. I'm back now. And now I'm going to start doing stuff again. Pretty clear what's going on there, right?
So how is it going here?
That's a pretty vague question.
Well, do you like it here? Is everything okay? You having any issues?
So unless you've experienced this psychopathic government corruption shit yourself, like you've got a lot of experience to know this, when someone from the government asks how you're doing and if you're okay, are you having any issues, do you like it here, you okay, you're in grave danger. They're probing you for an excuse to pull the mental illness card on you. This is what textbook, this is what they do. You're in grave danger when a government official, it's not like different than like if you've only just met someone, you say, hey, how you going? And they say, hey, how you going? That's different. But if you're in a conversation, you've been talking for like, maybe at least 10 seconds, you'd have like one sentence or two sentences each. After that, when they ask you if you're okay and stuff, how you going? And they're probing you for ammunition to pull the insanity card on you, to question to gaslight you, and to try and exert government powers to. The government gives these people powers to psychiatrically analyze you and declare you mentally ill, and by doing that, they can have you instantly then and there kidnapped and taken to psychiatry. So when she said these things in a seemingly peaceful, benign way, this is as malign and dangerous as it gets. So whenever someone from the government asks you about more than 10 seconds into a conversation how you are and probes you for this kind of question, be very careful. Do not give them any ammunition that they can twist into a mental illness or some kind of justification to do this. Be very careful. The only issue I've got with regarding to here is my home has been repeatedly broken into, and my gate has been repeatedly broken, and the lock's been damaged, progressively damaged over and over.
You want to show us?
She knows exactly who's been breaking into my home because she's involved. The police have done the break-ins of my home. I've been home times. I've escaped because they've broken in. They vandalised my home. And they break in, try to raid me, and they vandalise my home. They spitefully just damage my lock. Each time they break in, they damage my lock further, and they hit it with metal tools and shit to damage it further to the point where it's completely broken off now. So each time they break into my home, they just spitefully damage my locks and shit further because it's so fucking insane. And she's acting like it's an interesting problem. Let's have a look. She's behind this shit. Plain dumb. Yeah, it's not a big deal. It doesn't borrow the phone because if it gets fixed, it's just going to get broken again anyway.
Okay.
So it's just it's been completely ripped off at this point. I'm not even phased if you play this one, because if you do replace this, it's just a waste of money anyway, because it's just going to get Notice the sudden, dramatic personality change. This is what psychopaths do. They try to hide as wolves among sheep. When they're close to being identified and they're concerned about being identified, they need to put the mask on and role play the opposite of what they are. So suddenly she's very gentle. Who do you think is doing it? She's the one doing it. She's role playing the opposite, playing innocent and benign and non-threatening. Who do you think is doing it? Notice these personality changes, because you're gonna see a lot more of them. They're gonna get worse. This isn't just people who are just batshit crazy, like what people might consider multiple personality shit. No, this is psychopathic shit. This is an intentional role play and emulation of the opposite of what you are to play victim. I'll explain more to that soon. Let's just let them know who's doing it. There's nothing to talk. Sorry, look, there's a spider web. Yeah. There's all spiders around.
Yeah, I've got them at home too.
As fitting with the personality change, in order to be benign, she's doing the relation card. I can relate to you. We're the same. I'm not your enemy. Instead of I'm on your side, we're the same. This is intentional tactic. Psychopaths do this. Yeah, like big orb weavers.
Yeah.
So at this point, she's quickly and dramatically had this personality change to such an extreme now. She's in wonder at everything, like a harmless, oblivious 2-year-old toddler who's just in wonder of the world. In an intense sarcasm, like when you pretend to be so impressed by someone, and psychopaths do this not just to make fun of you and secretly mock you sarcastically to themselves as some kind of sick and twisted humor. They do this to try and manipulate you and gain your trust, so they can They do this because they're about to strike. They're about to attack. So I'm taking her to the gate that she's involved with breaking into my home, So she's getting very nervous here. This is why she's done this personality change. So see what's going on. Understand the psychology and the tactics that are going on here. She's so freaking out and so trying to distance herself from this matter of her being involved in breaking my gate that she now says, "You have a gate?" She's amazed at how amazing, you have a gate. I'm surprised. I never knew you had a gate. She's distancing herself from any knowledge of my gate because she's involved in it. She's so obviously distancing herself. It's like she can't hide anything. It's oozing out of her. The way this normally works is you've got this like this, and you just push it. It's all new. See, this is just torn to bits. And as you can see, so I'm trying to show the damage done to my gate of people breaking into my home. It's a very serious matter, and she's so freaking out. Now she's like, I'm showing her the gate, and she looks the other way, and she's like, "You have nylon." She's just like so desperate to get away from this gate. Absolutely nothing left of it now.
Oh.
But I wouldn't even bother fixing it because it's just going to get damaged.
Jeremy, how much of it's annoying?
Mowing, I don't know. I don't need a mop lawnmower. There's not really any grass. It's just the weeds that are pulled out. Yeah.
Okay. You're gonna have to
Have to
You
what?
didn't have, because you didn't have a lawn in the old place. You can't have the lawn all over the road.
Wait for the wait. She's so desperate to get away from this gate, any diversion possible, that she starts going on about apparently my garden is overgrown. And like she just, it's like when you got a dog and you say, "Did you do that?" and he looks away and he puts his head down and he looks away and tries to pretend like distance himself from it. It's like that to the extreme. It's so fucking obvious. It's pathetic. Sorry for the mute. What?
You can't have it all overgrown like that. You're gonna have
Not
to
overgrown. It's perfectly fine.
It's not. Rats and things could, and snakes.
I've never met a single rat. I've never met a single snake.
Jeremy, you can't have it over lawn.
There's nothing wrong with my garden at all. She's chosen my garden as a topic of forceful topic. Anything to get away from this gate issue. It's a serious issue. People are breaking into my home. I urgently need a new lock. No, now it's all about the garden. Now she's sticking with this one, and it's my garden. Now it's my lawn. What is it? Which is it? It's just got all over the place. And it's going to get worse. So first it's my garden, and now it's my lawn. I don't have a lawn, but that doesn't matter. There's nothing wrong with my garden at all. I walk through here all the time. I don't use my front door. I use my back door, and I'm perfectly fine.
Because of that liminal line.
So I've challenged her on this bullshit about my garden or my lawn or whatever it is, and she's got nothing. So she's devoted again. Instead of my garden being a bad thing, with all these personality changes, it's ridiculous. It's insane. Now she's in wonder about my small lime tree. I've got a small generic lime tree with just a couple of half-dead limes on it, green little fruits, and she's amazed by this small lime tree. So she's offended by my garden, and now she's amazed by it. Just another diversion to get away from accountability, from her accusation, because she's got nothing. She can't back herself up. Let's jump to something else. I think it's limes. Wow, you have a piece of fruit sitting in your garden. It's so amazing. Like, do you see this excessive wonderment? It's all a big act. What she's doing is she knows she can't take me head on, so she's role-playing the weak, vulnerable, benign, non-threatening target, so that she's the victim. If I continue pushing it, then she's the vulnerable victim. She's just in amazement of my tree. Why am I attacking her? And when psychopaths do this, they're not just doing it to defend themselves. As I've said, they're doing this because when they do this, they're about to attack. They're trying to get you to get your guard down. They're trying to shift your footing to knock you off balance and get you to put your guard down so they can get you unawares. When they do this, they're like a snake about to strike. They don't really grow any bigger than that, so.
Oh, they're lines.
Yeah, they haven't grown yellow, so I'm pretty sure they're lines, but they'll stay green.
Don't you use it?
I don't eat fruit.
Oh, limes you squeeze in water and have with juice.
Oh, thanks for that sarcasm. Like, I've never heard of fruit juice before. Yeah, I don't have fruit.
No?
On a rare occasion I will, that's about it.
Wow.
Wow, I don't drink fruit juice. Wow, so amazing. But there's nothing wrong with my garden, it's perfectly fine.
Well, I don't know. What's your opinion? Do you find this perfectly fine?
I mean, if you want to produce...
Sorry, but no.
See, there's a lot more going on here than you might realise. Like, I know exactly what they're doing. And she's about to strike, and I let her play this role play. She thinks I'm weak and vulnerable because I'm playing along, being friendly, and then just before she strikes, I strike. Straight back to this garden bullshit, and she knows, oh shit, it didn't work. So she gives up. She gives up on this friendliness tactic, this fake friend tactic, and she can't deal with me alone. So she turns straight to her support buddy. This is why they come in pairs, at least two of them. They like to have you 2-on-1, they have to outnumber you. And she goes straight to the ad populum fallacy. Is I don't know. Okay, so I'm not even going to confident in my position. I'm not going to attack you because if I do, you're gonna eat me up because I can't face you alone. So I'm going to take the I don't know position. So let's have someone else fight in my place. You can be my straw man. You fight in my place. And so once this other person sides with me, I'm going to jump straight back onto my position. I'm going to go from I don't know. What do you think? I'm on your side. Okay, well we're both going to attack. So she's swapping position to avoid a confrontation with me because she knows she has to take me 2-on-1. Just see this psychopathic, manipulative shit for what it is. This people don't understand how I understand people. Pay attention, work this shit out, understand psychology, and even some really dark psychology of psychopathy. If you want to make the world a better place, you need to figure out what runs in people's heads. If you want to produce an argument and premise and evidence, then do so, and do so on the record. Okay, on the record.
Okay, we'll send you a letter asking you to clean.
No. This is what they do, and this is what she did to me for years. So they won't directly threaten you. As you see, everything's all innuendo and indirect and wink wink. They'll never directly threaten you with legal action or imprisonment and shit. Then and there, they're cowards. They know they'll get their ass kicked, literally physically get their ass kicked if they try that shit, and they'll have no defense. So what they do is they say that I'll send you a letter. So instead of producing her argument then and there, she's accusing me of something, and I go, look, all right, explain. Why do you believe this? Explain right now. So no, I'll send it in a letter later. And what these letters are, and this is being suggestive, a reminder of what she's done over and over a few years in the past, is what she's going to do. She's going to send me legal threats in the mail from a distance so that she doesn't have to face me directly and won't get her ass kicked. She'll hide behind the system and send me a letter from a distance. She'll threaten me through a letter with court cases and evictions and all this shit. But if you won't do it to my face, it's always through letters. They've got the psychopaths have their fetishes, and the group of psychopaths at the housing department, at least there at Wyong, their fetish is doing this shit through letters, stalking and bullying and threatening people through letters. They seem to spend all their day writing threatening letters to people. No. See, you want to produce an argument, a premise, and evidence, or I'll be charging you in court, okay? So don't try this shit on me. Don't try this shit on me. My garden is perfectly fine. It is mechanically fine. I can get in and out. Everything's fine. You don't choose which plants I have in my garden. I choose which plants I have in my garden.
Would you like to show us through?
So I'm not letting her do this tactic of running away and sending this shit through a letter. I'm confronting her then and there, forcing her to face it. And she doesn't like that. So let's get to that bit. Just give me a sec. I skipped the wrong bit. Hang on. So I'm confronting her, and she's like, "Jeremy, don't, no." I'm like, "Don't try this shit, don't try this shit on me." And I specifically confront these. Like, I haven't confronted all her power games yet at all. I haven't I haven't tried that yet. I haven't played the power card, but this is the time to choose a power card. So I say, you don't choose which plants I have in my garden. I choose which plants I have in my garden. She's pretending to have my power, and I reverse it back to the true position. I'm the one with the power here. I decide what happens in my garden, not you. You're not the one with the power. I am the one with the power. And how does she respond? Is she quickly wants to move on? Just is that a normal response? No, it's not. So if you want to have any complaint, make a complaint. What is wrong with my garden? What is wrong with my garden?
Rodents could come in and snakes could come in,
Yeah.
you're in a complex.
Well, okay, so
hiding in the bush.
Rodents
It says to be reasonably clean.
So it's weeds, then it's the weeds are the problem. No, then it's grass is the problem. It's my garden, and then it's my lawn. It's all over the place. So now she's playing the possibility card. So like rodents could come in or snakes could come in. And then she says that my garden is reasonably clean and tidy. All over the place. So it's nothing wrong with my garden now. My garden is reasonably clean and tidy. But this is all a possibility thing. So I'm producing conditions in my garden that has some bizarre 1 in a million potential bizarre thing of happening. Like apparently rodents and snakes just might come into my garden 1 in a million chance because I've apparently got long grass that doesn't exist in a lawn that doesn't exist, or it's weeds, or it's whatever the story is. There's something overgrown in my garden, and somehow that's going to result in a snake coming in and then biting and killing one of my neighbours, and I'm going to be charged for murder. That's what she's trying to say here, like a 1 in a million thing. And like at the same time, you could say you could really say the same exact argument is I'm encouraging robbers because robbers hide in long grass or long grass that doesn't exist. And I'm giving robbers a chance to be able to get away with what they're doing. So I go to prison for robbery because I'm responsible. I'm an accessory to a robber because I've got long grass in my backyard. It's just as legitimate what she's saying. It's fucking retarded. But then she says it seems to be reasonably clean and tidy. Of all this, it's such a big deal. And then she says it's my garden is reasonably clean and tidy. My whole backyard. Let me answer your accusation. So rodents and snakes can get in.
Yes.
Under what premise? Let's forget that I've got a fence and all that. Since it's open bush, or let's forget that there's a main road across the road and whatever random shit. None of this makes fucking sense. It's just crazy shit. What is the difference between?
Grass encourages.
I don't have any grass.
This.
That's not grass.
Well, what is that?
It's a fern. This. She can't tell the difference between a big garden fern and a blade of grass. I don't know what to say to that. Maybe I should feed this woman dog shit for breakfast cereal. She wouldn't know the difference. How does that have anything to do with rodents and snakes? I've never met a single rodent or a single snake. So you're telling me that you're not going to do it? What she's doing there is she's just threatening me with an immediate eviction then and there if I don't do what she tells me. That's the ammunition to fully evict me. There's a very serious threat behind that, a veiled threat. But she's got no ammunition. She's calling my bluff. She's trying to fake ammunition, and this is her as direct and aggressive as it gets, as veiled as it is. I'm saying that I haven't had a single rodent and a single snake. Show me an argument. Show me a premise.
It could encourage them, and it says that the lawns need to be maintained in your tenancy agreement.
Just as I just said, she's calling my bluff. She's making up laws and rules that don't exist. And they did this. They tried to call me bluff with this. I've got tons of documents on this. They tried this for years, threatening really serious stuff under some technicality that I've violated. And you look this shit up, and they're just completely making it up. This is just a continuation of her empty bluff. Her very aggressive and serious empty bluff. She's bluffing here. I should add that I'm actually quite experienced and knowledgeable about this. So I grew up in the bush, and when I was younger, there were no laws on this stuff. But then, because of a lot of bushfires that happened on the Central Coast, and other bushfires that happened elsewhere in Australia, but it was the Central Coast and Sydney fires. I think it was like Black Friday or whatever it is. It was a massive deal, and that's when laws were changed. They finally brought in laws regarding safety when it comes to gardens. So there's no actual real law about gardens. The only real law is when it comes to extreme cases. So generally, the pathway in your backyard you need to be able to walk through your pathway without any obstacles in the way. I mean, obviously, that's not a problem with my backyard. But you need to be able to use your walkway. And while most people, especially when government officials, will make a bogus argument for why, there's a real argument behind it that they will never mention. It's common sense that if you have some kind of emergency, like a fire or something in your backyard, and you need to get out through your backyard for some reason, it's a path of your house that needs to be open in case you need it on the rare occasion. So the other legitimate argument for having overgrown gardens and all that kind of stuff is as a fire hazard. So in places, especially it's really the rule really just applies to areas of bush, which doesn't apply to this scenario. But these rules apply to those whose backyards go onto fire-prone bush. So this doesn't even apply to everybody, only certain situations that are designated by the government, local council, as being a fire hazard. So in those fire hazard zones, you have to take certain precautions in your house to have some kind of barrier between which doesn't have any bush or anything, to separate the bush from your home to stop a fire from jumping over. And there's one other argument which is actually based on the same thing as a fire hazard, is cleaning your gutters. Basically your gutters. These are very precise laws. Like, this woman is not making any preciseness to anything. She's just making vague nonsense up. So I can quote the exact precise laws. So when it comes to the last part of this is with your guttering. And the reason is that your guttering can get filled up with leaves and stuff, and it can cause your house to get caught on fire. So if you've got a fire in the bush nearby, and it can very easily, and it often does, spreads to your guttering, which is full of dried up leaves, which are the most easiest thing to catch fire and spread a fire. So the problem of leaves in your gutter has nothing to do with water flow. It's got nothing to do with any hypothetical damage that leaves could somehow do to the guttering system. It's all about fire hazard. So fire hazard is the main thing here, and the secondary is just having a path that you can walk through without any obstacles in the way to block you. That's it. That's basically it. Any argument anyone can make outside of that is rooted in that. There's no rule on how long your grass has to be. There's never have been, and there never will be. That's just fucking insane and retarded. You know, your grass can't grow beyond an inch long. If it's an inch and a half, you're getting evicted, buddy. That's what she's trying to do. She's just making shit up. Crazy shit. Well, I don't have a lawn.
I'm not going to say anything further about this.
If you're going to accuse me, provide an argument, a premise, and evidence. Right. And here you are on the record in front of me right now. Provide an argument for you accusing me of bringing in snakes and rodents in my home.
I'm saying that this encourages...
How so? How so?
Because that's somewhere they like to live.
Rodents live in houses. They live in fallen down trees with shelter. They don't live out in the long grass. Snakes don't live in the long grass. They find shelter in... They build nests somewhere else, not in the middle of the open grass. It's just complete stupidity. Nothing lives in the open grass. Everything lives in its own shelter somewhere. In fact, I've actually got a lizard that lives in the backyard, and he lives underneath the shed. There's a hole underneath the shed, and there's some kind of area under there that he lives in. Nothing to do with dry grass. In fact, long grass. In fact, you know, lizards are a reptile similar to a snake. He avoids the long grass. He walks along the path. He actually comes up to the window and says hello to me sometimes. He stays away from the long grass. He doesn't want nothing to do with it.
But hey, somehow insanity rules.
So you know, and I actually used to have pet rodents. I understand how rodents and snakes work.
I know you've had pet rodents.
So
Of all the thousands of people she deals with every year, she comes to see me personally, and she knows my political orientation. She knows exactly where I lived, that I lived upstairs and everything. She remembers that the timing that she hadn't. It's been a year since she's spoken to me, and she knows that I had pet rodents because Cheryl's involved in a conspiracy regarding that. These thugs that they used made threats of killing my pet rodents because she was involved in it and covering it up and encouraging these thugs to do this. That's how she knows I have rodents. That's the only reason she knows I have rodents, because she was involved in trying to kill these rodents to try and get to me.
do you know anything about rodents? Do you know what kind of conditions they live in? Because they tend to go into homes that are open.
Land and Housing Corporation that owns the property does not allow us to have lawns that are overgrown.
So now she's pulling the middleman card. She knows she's doing wrong. She can't pretend otherwise. She can't fool me, and she can't win there. So she's gonna try and strawman someone else. She's gonna say it's not me exerting this power and doing this thing that we both admit now is wrong. I'm doing wrong, and we both admit it. So it's not me. It's the Land and Housing Corporation. Let's forget that I'm the very big boss of the Land and Housing Corporation. It's someone else. It's the corporation. It's not the CEO. It's the corporation, and they do not allow us to have lawns. So they're going to get in trouble. It's the corporations, the big evil corporation, and I'm just a slave to the corporation, and they won't allow us to have. Yeah, if you have an overgrown garden, I'm gonna, my life is over. You don't want to hurt me, the innocent victim, do you? That's what she's doing. She's just swapping roles. She's tried to do the victim, pretend like victim vulnerable card, and it's not working. She's given up on that at this point. Now she's trying to the plausible deniability card. It's someone else's problem. It's not me. It's their fault, not my fault. This is what Muslims do. Muslims do this all the time. This is just a common, simple tactic of deflection. It's a deflective tactic.
I don't have lawns, and I don't have lawns that are overgrown.
This is overgrown.
That is not a lawn.
It is still overgrown.
She's so grasping at straws here. She's just accidentally admitted that it isn't a lawn. It's not a lawn. So but it's still overgrown. Where's the definition of overgrown and undergrown? Yeah, I'm asking for her for a definition. She can't give me a definition. So she's admitted now that I don't even have a lawn. What I have is a section of gravel. And in that gravel, as what usually happens in people who've got gravel in their garden, sometimes bits of grass, little bits of grass, or maybe a couple of weeds here and there will grow out of it. And you can't mow that. You can't stick a lawnmower on gravel. And if you want to know why, I'd like you to do a video of yourself attempting it and stick that shit on YouTube, and you'll get millions of views. Trust me. Just a side note, if you want to look at something similar to what I'm trying to suggest here about gravel and a lawnmower, look up on YouTube brick in a washing machine.
They do not allow us.
Define overgrown. Define overgrown.
I'm not getting. I've said what I need to say.
You keep making all these accusations. You can't back a single thing up. Okay. And if you try and bully me like last place, I will take serious direct action. Don't try this shit on me.
I am not bullying you. It needs to be maintained at an efficient level.
I actually just maintained it yesterday. Would you like to see the proof? No, you're not interested in the proof. You're not interested in the truth. You're interested in coming here and bullying me and threatening me and accusing me.
At this point, I've done enough. I've got this enough on record, so I'm gonna try and end this. I'm just rushing the end of this now, just pushing it toward the end and just standing up to her shit, calling it how it is. And she's backed in a corner. She's got nowhere to go now. And she says, I'm saying that she's about the bullying on shit. I'm not going to put up with the bullying shit. and she says, I haven't been near you since last year. Like, it's kind of an admission of the evil shit she did. That I'm stayed away from you for a year. Like, I'm saying, you did this shit in the past. I'm not going to let you do it again. And it's okay. I haven't done it in a while. I've stopped doing that for a while. So I'm going to pretend that I'm not doing that anymore because it's been a while since I did that. She's inadvertently admitting what she did. Just indirectly, because everything's innuendo and indirect. But she's, if you really understand what she's saying, she's accidentally admitting that she did this evil shit in the past. I mean, she's already admitted a bunch of times anyway. But it's always indirect and innuendo and shit. But she's indirectly admitted. And she's just trying to pretend that she's in the corner like, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to cop that shit. Don't treat me like I'm some inferior thing to be bullied.
1 second.
I'm the one with the authority here, not you. You're given entrusted authority by the population of people like me to take care of reasonable matters as like a secretary. So if you want to say that there's something wrong with my garden, produce a clear and coherent argument with a premise and evidence, and I'll deal with it. But don't go saying things that are not true, and then backing out of it, and then coming back with a new accusation, running away.
I will send you some information regarding the way that lawns can be kept in social housing properties.
No, don't send me something. You tell me right now. You accuse me.
No, I don't need to tell you right now.
Yes, you do. You accuse me right now. You accuse me right now.
Not at an acceptable level for a fax housing property.
You accuse me right now. You own the consequences. You accuse me right now. You own the consequences. You accuse me right now. You own the consequences.
So we are going to finish the client service visit.
Yes.
By checking your details.
Yes.
We're moving on from that, Jeremy.
So basically, all she's got, she's given up making these threats and accusations. She's saying, I'm not gonna fight you here. I'm gonna fight you at a distance from behind the system through legal orders and threatening letters and shit. And I'm gonna do shit behind the scenes from a distance. And I'm not gonna fight you here. I'm not gonna face you here and now at all. I'm not gonna do any more of that. I'm not gonna try bullying you here anymore because you're gonna physically kick my ass if I push this. She realizes that, and she's saying that I'm gonna fight you and do this evil shit from a distance. See, I at this point I've got this shit on record. I really have the legal right to pretty much beat the shit out of her and worse, literally. And she's not going to push it in case I do, and she's still threatening what she intends to do from a distance, even at risk of me physically kicking her ass then and there. So she wants to move on now. So we are going to finish the client service visit by checking your details. We're moving on from that, Jeremy. We're about checking your details. So this is what a main thing of what this is all about. Not all what it's all about. It's all a big scam to try and intimidate and threaten me and frame me and to forge some kind of ammunition against me to run me through these years of trying to entrapment and all this kind of shit they did before. They're just trying that shady shit all over again, that psychopathic shit. And one of the things that they were here to do is to check my details. So they wanted to see if I had a new phone number and stuff like that. They wanted to see if there's any new personal details that they could exploit. Because what they did in the past, they kept hacking my phones. And they didn't do it through normal hacks. They did this shit through my ISP. And they had my ISP send settings on phone settings, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. This is a automatic thing that your ISP can send files to your phone to change settings to update how the network is going, and they can switch things on and off and do all kinds of shit that you don't know about. And this was the kind of method that they used to hack my phones. And if you can ask me, I've got proof of all this shit. I've got wireless hotspot list names of when this happened. When I've got live recordings of this shit happening. So my phones kept getting hacked. I've said this in the past. I kept running out of phones because every time I upload government and police corruption files, they'll out of spite, they'll destroy my phones through these hacks. and there's kill switches in phones as well. So if they have no way of identifying any new phones I've got. But if they got my number, they can identify my phone and they can use a kill switch, or they could hack it through the ISP method. They can destroy my phones. If they don't know my numbers, they can't destroy my phones. So they're probing me to see if they can get my numbers, so they can shut them down with it whenever I do stuff. That's a big reason for why they were there in the first place, to get these details. As for my home phone and all that kind of stuff, they had that already, but they wanted to see if I've got any new home numbers, any new mobile numbers, so that they can exploit that shit. No, we're not moving on from that. You accuse me of something. You threaten me, and you got no premise, you got no argument, you got no evidence.
In my opinion, and Kathleen's
I'm not interested in your opinion. You don't have the right to an opinion.
Yes,
an
we
opinion,
do.
And no, you don't.
I'm
an
not
opinion.
continuing this.
Do you even know what an opinion
Can
is?
you check the phone numbers and everything, please?
Do you know what an opinion is?
Yes, I do.
It's a personal belief based on prejudice and personal preference, and it has no basis in reality or facts.
Well,
So if you want to do a fact-based argument, do so.
Land and Housing Corporation do not allow their gardens to be kept and maintained at that level of growth.
Define such a level in a clear and specific, because you don't even have a definition. You're accusing me of something that has no definition. No, so you're going to construct a made up vague argument that has no premise.
Jeremy, is your phone, what's your mobile
I don't use my
phone
phone, and I don't use my mobile.
So we only contact you
You
via...
contact through my answering machine on my phone that will be on all the time. I'm actually not home that often these days, so.
So is that...
No, that's my old number. That's my old number. You'll have money in number because I gave it to you. So
What's your new
leave
number,
a message on my answering machine.
So your new number?
I will find it. I should have it listed on my database here. It is. So you don't go to someone's house and threaten them, especially when you're a government service officer. You don't threaten them with something that has no definition.
When you go to somebody, what happens if you see them?
Well, would you like to go to your house and I start threatening to take legal action against you because I don't like your yellow flowers, I like red flowers. I don't like your yellow flowers, so I'm gonna kick you out of your home. I'm gonna kick you out of your home because I don't like yellow flowers.
So would you like to show us through the rest of the property?
You don't like the colour of my walls either? And the light, I've changed the colour of the walls with the light. Yes, I've always kept my house well. Including my garden. You just don't like my type of garden.
I believe it's overgrown. You don't. We'll see what...
If you want to make an accusation, back it up.
I've already said it's overgrown. You can clearly see it's overgrown.
I have no rodent problem, no snake problem, never have.
No,
if you want to
that's
say
right.
that there is.
No, that's good from you.
They're so desperate for support here. You know, it doesn't matter if there's a million of them against one. They're still still outranked. But so now they're referring to my neighbour's gardens. Well, my neighbour's gardens are better than this, so I should make mine better and be evicted or something, or punished with fines, imprisonment, or whatever, because my garden's not as good as my neighbour's garden. Apparently, it's just so desperate for some kind of fake ammunition that they have to make such a ridiculous argument. You know, to make such an argument at your neighbour's gardens are better, it's an admission that the whole feeble argument she's making, that she's got no confidence that it's going to get anywhere. So it's all a big bluff. So she's going to try and say, I'm not up to, instead of, I'm apparently, I am up to the legal standards. I mean, she's already admitted that several times. So now I'm just not up to my neighbour's standards. So if my neighbour has a garden better than me, then shame on me, and I just need to go to prison or some shit because my garden's not good as my neighbour's. That's what she's saying. It's fucking retarded. I'm not interested in what my neighbour's gardens are, right? My neighbour's gardens are irrelevant. You're accusing me of bringing in snakes and rats. Well, show me evidence. Where's a single snake and where's a single rat? I actually know.
It encourages. I did not say that you have
show me the science.
Or that you have got them.
Show me the science and the behavioural.
It encourages rodents and snakes. There's a difference.
Hell, you might even just say I'm guilty of terrorism. I just get the death penalty for terrorism because I've got, red flowers in my garden, and ISIS members like red flowers, and I'm encouraging ISIS by having red flowers, and I just need to die from terrorism. That's not how rodents and snakes operate. I actually know how rodents and snakes operate. Long grass has nothing to do with rodents and snakes. Why would rodents go through long grass? They go through open spaces. Why do they go through scrub where they can't move around?
And snakes?
Snakes, I've never seen a single snake while I'm here. For example, there could be a yeti. So let's just say there's an imaginary yeti on the other side of the world. Well, there's no yetis in Australia, so there's no threat, there's no problem. So why would I have a yeti problem in my backyard because I've got long grass and the yetis like long grass? It's a nullified argument.
You were much happier when you lived over at the entrance.
Okay, this is the biggest of all things here, and you probably didn't even see it. So she says, you were much happier when you lived over at the entrance. So she's reminded me of all the shit that went in the past. So all the shit that happened in the past, all the shit she did to me before I was evicted, before I was taken to psychiatry. I was better then than I am now. So this is a threat of psychiatry. She's threatening to have me committed. That's what she's doing here. Now, play close notice the way she says it. You're much happier when we lived over at the entrance. Notice how the pitch goes up at the end. This is important because it adds context of what people are really saying to a sentence. So when you go up at the end of the sentence, you're leading into something. So if you're leading into something, it's either a question or an innuendo of something that you're suggesting that you're not going to say. So if you lead up, if you're not asking an actual question and you lead up, you're leading into something. So if you don't say something next, then this is clear innuendo and it's a threat. It's an indirect threat without actually saying it. So it's like saying, I have to give you an example. So but you try and get what I'm saying here. She's making a threat of having me committed, and she's suggesting it in a very indirect way. This is what these psychopaths do. Everything's indirect innuendo. So understand when people go up in pitch at the end of a sentence, and at the end of a sentence, they're not making a direct statement. When people confidently say a statement and that ends, a statement begins and it ends, and you're finished with it, you're making a clear point and you're finished, that's when you go down, just like I just did. But if I say, I'll try and think of an example. If I say, there's a problem here, that's a clear, direct statement. There's a problem, okay, we need to fix it, we need to sort out something's wrong, okay, let's fix it up. It's not a threat, it's just open and honest, trying to point out there's a problem. If I say, I think there's a problem here, wink wink, wink wink, I think there's a problem here. It's just, that's like saying, you're the problem, it's the same pitch change. It's a suggestion, it's innuendo. Yeah, pay attention to how people end their sentence. It matters. Pitch doesn't go up or down without a reason. There's a reason why, and people just don't realize it, don't think about it. So she's threatening me with being committed. She's got no ammunition, and she's just directly threatened. She's completely cornered. She's got nothing, and she's at the end of this little visit. and she just wants to threaten me with being committed. That was the main thing of coming here, was to threaten to have me committed because of what I just did politically. So do you realize how toxically evil this shit is? And they do it so covertly and indirectly with innuendo that it will piss you off and you won't even know why you're angry. Your skin will crawl, but you don't know something about what they said, but you can't point your finger at it. Realize this is what they're doing. And they know that you're gonna at least be annoyed at it and somewhat get it in a way that you won't be able to directly fight back. Realize this toxically intense evil to this. It's disgustingly repulsive. So she's just threatened to have me committed because I was better when basically she's saying that I was better when I was committed, and she's saying that I've mentally gone downhill and I really need to be committed again to be happier, as if happiness means shit. Fuck happiness. I'd rather live a life of meaning than live in shallow happiness. Otherwise I might just be a drug addict or some shit. Well, now, I was much happier when corrupt government employees didn't come to my home, threaten me with an empty gun against someone who's armed with ammunition to take the lot of you down. So don't pull that shit on me. Would you like to see any more of my internals in my house? You just had a quick look.
That's all we need to do. Yeah. That's all we need to do.
Okay. Notice the unusual calmness to what she just said. We've done our little thing. You know, I've made the threat of having you committed. It's over now. It's time for me to be peaceful. See what's going on. She's giving up the attack, and she's made her little threat of having me committed, and the job is done. And there's more to it than that. She's trying to exert the ultimate false power, as though she's not threatened by me anymore. She has all the power, and now she's just going to have me committed. It's coming, and there's nothing you can do about it. And yeah, just see the toxicity of this bluff. It's just fucking sick.
Okay.
I will not be bullied. Crystal clear. And I'll act in self-defense.
If anything, I have worked very hard defending you.
Oh, sure. You come to my home and you try and bully and threaten me, and you're defending me, and you're the victim. I'm the bad guy, and you're the victim.
Jeremy, lovely seeing you again.
As the wolf goes out the door, he puts back on the sheep's clothing. So I've added at the end here the complete audio transcripted recording from start to finish without any interruption or narration. Just so if you want to watch it through after hearing what I've said, you can watch it through noticing everything I've talked about, and you can pick it up and see it for yourself. These psychopathic mind games that these psychopaths do. It's fucking sickening. But look, you need to see that these psychopaths, and there are a lot of them, that they do this and that learn to detect, to see what they're doing, and how to deal with it. Because these psychopaths do extreme harm, and they get by undetected in everything they do. And they are scared shitless of people like me who see through everything, who they know they can't fool. The shepherds who can identify every wolf from a mile away. Oh, hang on. I left the lock on.
Hi, Jeremy. It's Lisa. How are you?
I'm good.
I haven't seen you for a long time. This is Kathleen. She's your client service officer. How's things going?
Oh, fine. I don't remember you.
Yeah, from over at, you were at the entrance upstairs.
Yeah, I used to live there.
Yeah, and then you had... Oh, okay. I first originally went to the Pickering, and then I worked on the case when you were having some antisocial behaviour issues with...
Yes, there was a terrorist downstairs, Skander, yes. And
He's gone?
I have extensive footage of him vandalising my property,
Yes.
attacking people with weapons and making terrorist bombardments, and nothing was done. And I was attacked repeatedly. My car was repeatedly vandalised. I lost my car over it,
I know that.
and nothing was done over years. And it was all documented. And all the threats I received from the housing department over things I've never said or done.
And then you went and had a little stay in hospital?
No, I was not in a hospital. I was in a psychiatric facility where I was tortured for a year. I have confessions on camera.
Okay.
I'm not some random person off the street.
No.
I'm heavily politically active,
I
and I
know.
was tortured by a psychopath who murdered his own wife. He murdered 1,000 people at Concord Private Hospital.
Yep.
So let's not pretend that I'm not the victim of an extreme government conspiracy here with extensive evidence, and that I wasn't kidnapped as a political prisoner and tortured. So I've done nothing wrong, and I'm a victim.
And then I haven't seen you since you've moved here.
Yeah.
So how is it going here?
That's a pretty vague question I want to answer.
Well, do you
basically.
like it here? Is everything okay? You having any issues?
The only issue I've got regarding to here is
Yeah.
my home has been repeatedly broken into, and my gate has been repeatedly broken, and the lock's been damaged, like progressively damaged
Do you
over
want
and
to
over.
show us?
Yeah, it's not a big deal. It doesn't borrow the home because if it gets fixed, it's just going to get broken again anyway.
Okay.
So it's just it's been completely ripped off at this point. I'm not even phased if you replace it, because if you do replace it, it's just a waste of money anyway. It's just going to get helpful. Let's just let them know who's doing it, and there's nothing at all. Sorry, look, there's a
Cobweb?
spider web, yeah.
Yeah.
There's all spiders around
Yeah, I've
lately.
got them at home too.
Yeah, like, big orb weavers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a couple of them out there. Yeah, so. The way this normally works is you've got this like this, and you just push it. It's all. See, this is just torn to bits. And
Good
as you
night.
can see, there's absolutely nothing left of it now.
Oh.
But I wouldn't even bother fixing it because it's just going to get damaged.
Jeremy, how much of it's been on?
Mowing, I don't know. I don't need a lawnmower. There's not really any grass. It's just the weeds that are pulled out.
Okay. You're gonna have to
After
You
what?
didn't have because you didn't have a lawn in the old place. You can't have the lawn all over the
Hang on,
place.
wait for the train. Wait. Sorry for the vehicles.
Right.
What?
You can't have it all overgrown like that. You're gonna have
It's not
to put
overgrown.
it all
It's
out.
perfectly fine.
It's not. Rats and things could and
No,
snakes
I've
and
never
things.
met a single rat. I've never met a single rat snake.
Jeremy, you
There's
can't
nothing wrong.
have it over lawn.
There's nothing wrong with my garden at all. There's nothing wrong with my garden at all. I walk through here all the time. I don't use my front door. I use my back door, and I'm perfectly fine.
Which size is that, lemon or lime?
I think it's limes.
Wow.
They don't really grow any bigger than that, so
Oh, they're limes.
yeah. They haven't grown yellow, so I'm pretty sure they're limes because they stay green.
Don't you use them?
I don't eat fruit.
Oh, limes you squeeze in water and have with juice. Or...
Yeah, I don't have fruit.
No?
On a rare occasion I will. That's about it.
Wow.
But there's nothing wrong with my garden. It's perfectly fine.
Well, I don't know. What's your opinion? Do you find this perfectly fine?
I mean, if you want to produce,
Sorry, but no.
if you want to produce an argument and premise and evidence, then do so, and do so on the record. Okay, on the
Okay,
record.
we'll send you a letter
Otherwise-
asking you to clean it
No,
up.
no. See, you want to produce an argument, a premise, and evidence, or I'll be charging you in court. Okay? So don't try this shit on me. Don't try this shit on me. My garden is perfectly fine. It is mechanically fine. I can get in and out. Everything's fine. You don't choose which plants I have in my garden. I choose which plants I have in my garden.
Would you like to show us through
So
the
if you want to have
property?
any complaint, make a complaint.
I
What is
am.
it?
I'm
What is
telling
wrong with
you.
my garden? What is wrong with my garden?
Rodents could come in and snakes could come
How?
in, and
Yeah.
you're in a complex.
Well, okay,
they've
so-
been hiding in the bush.
Rodents
It says
can-
to be reasonably clean
Let
and
me
tidy.
answer your accusation. So rodents and snakes can get in.
Yes.
Under what premise? What is the
Because
difference
longer
between?
grass encourages
I don't have any
them.
grass.
This.
That's not grass.
Well, what is that?
It's a fern.
This.
This. How does that have anything to do with rodents and snakes? I've never met a single
So
rodent or
you're
a single
telling me
snake.
that you're not going to do it?
I'm saying that I haven't had a single rodent and a single snake. Show me an
It
argument,
could
show me a premise.
encourage them, and it says that the lawns need to be maintained in your tenancy agreement.
Well, I don't have a lawn.
I'm not going to say anything further about this. It needs
If you're
to
going
be
to
fixed
accuse
up.
me, provide an argument,
I'm-
a premise, and evidence.
Right.
And here you are on the
Will you
record
take
in
the
front of me
photograph?
right now. Provide an argument for you accusing me of bringing in snakes and rodents in my home.
I'm saying
you have
that
no
this
premise.
encourages,
How so? How so?
because that's somewhere they like to live.
So you know, and I actually used to have pet rodents. I understand how
I know
rodents
you've
and
had.
snakes work.
I know you've had
So-
pet rodents.
So do you know anything about rodents? Do you know what kind of conditions they live in? Because they tend to go into homes that are open.
Land and Housing Corporation that owns the property does not allow us to have lawns that are overgrown. That's.
Well, I don't have
that's-
lawns, and I don't have lawns that are overgrown.
This is overgrown.
That is not a lawn.
It is
And-
still overgrown. They do not allow
Define
us.
overgrown. Define overgrown.
I'm not getting. I've said what I need
Well,
to
you
say.
keep
and
you
that's
keep making
it.
all these accusations. You can't back a single thing up. Okay. And if you try and bully me like last place, I will take serious direct action. So don't try and don't try this shit on me.
I am not bullying you. It needs to be maintained at an acceptable level.
I actually just maintained it yesterday. Would you like to see the proof? No, you're not interested in the proof. You're not interested in the truth. You're interested in coming here and bullying me and threatening me and accusing me. I'm not going to cop that shit. Don't treat me like I'm some inferior thing to be bullied. I'm the one with the authority here, not you. You're given entrusted authority by the population, people like me, to take care of reasonable matters as like a secretary. So if you want to say that there's something wrong with my garden, produce a clear and coherent argument with a premise and evidence, and I'll deal with it. But don't go saying things that are not true and then backing out of it and then coming back with a new accusation, running away.
Some information regarding the way that lawns can be kept in a social housing property.
No, don't send me something. You tell me right now. You accuse
No,
me.
I don't need to tell you
Yes,
right
you
now.
do. You accuse me right now.
I'm
You
saying
accuse
that
me
that
right
is
now.
not at an acceptable level for a fax housing property.
You
and
accuse
I
me
will
right now.
send
You own the
some
consequences.
information.
You accuse me right now. You own the
Did you hear what I
consequences.
said?
You accuse me
So
right
if
now.
you
You
want me-
own the consequences.
So we are going to finish the client service visit.
Yes.
We're checking
You
your
accuse-
details.
Yes,
We're moving on from that, Jeremy.
No, we're not moving on from that. You
Yeah,
accuse
we
me of
are.
something. You accuse me of something.
I've told
You threaten
you,
me,
in
and
my
you got no
opinion-
premise. You got no argument. You got no evidence.
In my opinion, and Kathleen's
I'm not
opinion,
interested in your opinion. You don't have the right to an opinion.
Yes,
an
we
opinion,
do.
and no, you don't.
I'm
An
not
opinion.
continuing this.
Do you even know what an opinion
Can you
is?
check the phone numbers and everything, please?
Do you know what an opinion is?
Yes, I do.
It's a personal belief based on prejudice and personal preference, and it has no basis in reality or facts.
Well,
So if you want to do a
Land
fact-based
and
argument, do so.
Land and Housing Corporation do not allow their gardens to be kept and maintained at that level of growth.
Define such a level in a clear and specific, because you don't even have a definition. You're accusing me of
I'll
something
be
that has no
sending it to
definition.
you. I'll
No,
be sending
so
it
you're
to
going to construct a made up vague argument that has no premise.
Jeremy, is your phone, what's your mobile
I don't use my phone,
number?
and I don't use my mobile.
So we only contact you
You
via...
contact through my answering machine on my phone that'll be on all the time. I'm actually not home that often these days, so.
So is that 43342717?
No, that's my old number. That's my old number. You'll have my new number because I gave it to you. So
What's your new
you leave a message on my answering machine.
So your new number?
I will find it. I should have it listed on my database here. It is 4314 50 55. So you don't go to someone's house and threaten them, especially when you're a government service officer. You don't threaten them with something that has no definition.
When you go to somebody, nothing if you see them.
Well, would you like to go to your house and I start threatening to take legal action against you because I don't like your yellow flowers, I like red flowers. I don't like your yellow flowers, so I'm gonna kick you out of your home. I'm gonna kick you out of your home because I don't like yellow
So
flowers.
would you like to show us through the rest of the property?
You don't like the colour of my walls either? And the light, I've changed the colour of the walls with the light. Yes, that's because I've always kept my house well, including my garden. You just don't like my type of garden.
I believe it's overgrown. You don't. We'll see what.
If you want to make an accusation, back it up.
I've already said it's overgrown. You can clearly see it's overgrown.
I have no rodent problem, no snake problem, never have.
No,
if you want to
that's
say
right.
that there is.
Neighbour's good from you.
I'm not interested in what my neighbour's gardens are like.
Because
My
this
neighbour's
virus
my neighbour's
already
gardens
comes.
are irrelevant. You're accusing me of bringing in snakes and rats. Well, show me evidence.
No.
Where's a single snake and where's a single
Excuse me?
rat?
I
actually
said
know
it
sna-
encourages. I did not say that you have
Show me the science
or
and
that you have got them.
Show me
I
the
said
science
that
and
it
the behavioural.
encourages rodents and snakes. There's a difference.
That's not how rodents and snakes operate. I actually know how rodents and snakes operate. Long grass has nothing to do with rodents and snakes. Why would rodents go through long grass? They go through open spaces. Why would they go through scrub where they can't move around?
And snakes?
Snakes, I've never seen a single snake while I'm here. For example, there could be a yeti. So let's just say there's an imaginary yeti on the other side of the world. Well, there's no yetis in Australia, so there's no threat, there's no problem. So why would I have a yeti problem in my backyard because I've got long grass and the yetis like long grass? It's a nullified
Jeremy,
argument.
you were much happier when you lived over at the entrance.
Well, now, I was much happier when corrupt government employees didn't come to my home, threaten me with an empty gun against someone who's armed with ammunition to take the lot of you down. So don't pull that shit on me. Would you like to see any more of my internals of my house? You just had a quick look.
That's all we need to do.
Yeah.
That's all we need to do.
Okay.
Okay.
I will not be bullied. Crystal clear. And I'll act in
Jeremy,
self-defense.
If anything, I have worked very hard defending you.
Oh, sure. You come to
Yeah.
my home and you try and bully and threaten me, and you're defending me, and you're the victim.
There you
I'm the bad guy, and you're the victim.
Jeremy, lovely seeing you again.